Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our final webinar for 2026. I'd like to give us a pat on the back, especially the team that helps me put together amazing content to present every few weeks. We've been extremely consistent this year, and we've been able to add a lot of value to businesses directly. We've had, guests that are regulars in these webinars, and also people that are probably joining us for the first time today. Either way, welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us throughout the year for people who have, because I know of a few names that have joined us almost across all webinars because the information I believe was useful. But either way, there's a simple theme we follow. I'm going to walk you through 14 different ideas today. I've broken them down into two parts. The first are next gen growth ideas, which bring in a two-letter word that is on everyone's mind. And then the next seven are how you could scale what you already have as a business. So we're going to focus on those two bits. We're going to take questions at the end. And I want to jump right in and talk about how you could grow your business in 2026. The ideas that I have apply to all sizes and shapes of businesses across industries. Although there are some examples that I'll talk about that will be specific to a few industries, but I'm always happy to come up with specific stuff for your store. So for everyone attending this webinar, we are doing complimentary audits for your sites. So just write back to me. I'm going to write an email to each one of you after the webinar. And you can just write back and say, I want that audit. And we're going to get to work. And we're going to come back and present at least 15 different ideas which are specific to your store, stuff that you can do to improve your conversions, stuff that you can do to just generally grow your business, your email revenue, your retention rate, your lifetime value, everything it takes for you to have a fantastic 2026. But yes, let's jump right in. We picked this because we've been picking this topic at this time of the year for the last 2 years. We always release a blueprint for growth for 2026. We are going to evolve this over the next 2-3 weeks and actually publish it on our website as well, in a few weeks. But the ideas could have changed by then. But generally speaking, we want to kind of talk about stuff that you could, as a business, focus on. You obviously can't focus on 14 things. That's exactly the meaning of focus, is to not focus on many things or to not get distracted. So I'd recommend you pick the 2-3 out of this entire list that matter the most to you, that seem like they'll work the best for you. And most importantly, you have some data to corroborate that they might actually work for you. So that's exactly what we do for our customers. We go and look at the data, look at the funnel, understand where they lose customers and revenue, and then come up with specific solutions, specific things that can work specifically to solve those problems. And then in the end, of course, deliver a higher conversion rate. Without further ado, let's jump in. As far as 2026 goes, I think we've all revamped our site. So as far as pop-ups and shouting about discounts and basic A/B tests, etc. goes, all of that is out of the window. Free shipping, for example, it matters a lot, but it's not a game changer anymore, right? Chasing a new platform is not a game changer anymore. What's a game changer is how you can focus on experience as a whole, how you can experience on CX, customer experience, as opposed to UX, which is user experience, because you want to be more empathetic to the people shopping on your site. You want to focus on retention. You want to focus on scaling the business without having to spend endless amounts of money on acquiring new customers. That's the big difference between a business that runs for years and years versus businesses that don't. And that's simply that businesses that run really long period of time have a lot of retention. And every time they launch a new product or a new line or a new business vertical, 50 to 60% of the success originates from the business they've already been doing, right? Now, let's get into the first part. We're going to talk about AI, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I feel that while I relate to these ideas a lot, not a lot of businesses can instantly implement them. There are a few, however, that you can. So I'm going to break these down into smaller molecules, smaller atoms of information so that you can actually, and I'm going to try and use as little jargon as possible to make sure that I'm being as relatable as possible to your business and your store, right? So let's jump into the first one. ChatGPT is the new way in which people are shopping. I think we all already know that. That's true for Gemini. That's true for Perplexity. In fact, Google's own AI snippets is a big way in which people are summarizing information. But you have to find a way to also, as they say, You have to optimize for that as a search engine. But then again, it's not really about discovery alone. Of course, discovery is important. Even for convertcart.com, more than 10% of our traffic is now coming from language models. So that's there. And we've been working on trying to, improve on that, because you can't run away from it. But what I would much rather do is look at the kind of discovery related queries people are running for your brand or your industry, and then help them narrow down or kind of find the right products on your site. So what I really mean is, the first thing you want to make sure that you do is use case based queries. Essentially look at, instead of looking at your product as a catalog, look at it as list of solutions that you could solve for people that have a problem. And then instead of looking at it like a skew graph, skew list, make it look like specific use cases that you can solve for. So there are 100 ways of doing that. I can show you, for example, a very quick example of how this is done. So in this case, this is very binary, a 0 and 1 way of building a wizard. But in this case, you could say, hey, I'm looking for a screen for my Apple iPhone 16 Pro. So you're already extremely specific, right? You know the only way you can use this is if you know exactly what you want. But what if you don't? And that's exactly where you can leverage AI to just capture problems or use cases or the kind of user that you have or the kind of problem they're trying to solve, to then finally show them an answer. And so those answers can be pages that you put together as a business, which are, for example, best outfits for June for summer weddings, right? How to choose a sofa for pet owners. That is going to be the future as far as how blogs are being kind of considered. We have a lot of clients, by the way, that drive organic traffic through their blog. They were originally a blog and then they started a shop in some cases. And so, optimizing for search engine has been their way of life. And now they are kind of obviously feeling it a little bit. So what we're having them do is work backwards on their product pages and making their product pages into useful pieces of information that rank as answers on search engine, language models and so on. So I'll anyway share this with you. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to keep going, and if you have any questions, please continue to put them in the chat. I'll try and take them up as I go, or we can also take them up at the end altogether. Also, if you want me to slow down, if you're okay, if there's any other feedback you have for me, you can always let me know on the chat. All right. The next thing is guided shopping. Generally, I think that stores look like they want to tell you what you should be buying instead of what might feel right for the customer. And that's something that is going to be significantly more obsolete in 2026, because thanks to Zuckerberg, thanks to TikTok, thanks to personalization that people are inherently habitual of, because even the short form or long form content you watch on YouTube, every reel you watch on Instagram, all of it is personalized to you. And all of the ads that you see are personalized to you. They're literally listening to you when you're sitting in your living room and then showing you ads depending on the stuff that you're talking about. So I think we've all experienced that. But what that really also means is that you can't be a brand that's just completely in a different, that's just that same old catalog, 50% off on all t-shirts, and then you kind of break that down. You have to play into the shopper's preferences and their wants and their needs, right? So instead of plain product suggestions, you have to change the narrative a little bit, and you have to talk about just generally appealing ways of pursuing people that a product works, right? So here's how something might look at a specific time of day, for example, etc. So I think there's a big change that is ahead of us in 2026, which is that the big brands are going to stop doing catalogs altogether. So if I, for example, go to Fenty Beauty right now and just go and shop on it, if you see right now, what you see is still kind of your standard catalog style shopping experience, right? Some similar to what maybe Sephora has when you walk into a store. But this is going to change very rapidly in the next 6 months to a year, because everybody is going to integrate AI into their front end. And the moment you will get into the store, none of this is going to be relevant because you can't show everybody everything. And that's why even when you walk into a Sephora today, they are overstaffed in every store because the biggest problem in converting their customers, even walk-in customers, is that it's too hard to find things because Sephora as a store fundamentally is a brand-led store. So all of their entire catalog is arranged so that brands are given precedence. So you have an entire corner for, say, for example, Fenty Beauty. You have another entire corner for Kerastase, another entire corner for Bulgari, and then so on. And so if you want, for example, if you're looking for a skin lightening serum or something like that, there is no category like that. There is no category. There is no section which has all of the skin lightening serums, right? And so that's broken. And so the way they are solving it is they have these shopping assistants, which are actual humans, which are available to you the moment you enter the store. So that's how they are solving it. Now you have to think about how you're going to solve that. And I think, again, you have to focus on segmentation. So there is a mountain of data that your store already generates for you. We analyze data for a living. And generally speaking, the segments that we create are people who are shopping for the first time, people who buy very often, people who only see high value products, people who buy the bracket buyers, essentially people who are just kind of, uh, um, they're the kind of customers you don't like. There's too much RTO, so they're buying 5, returning 4, so on. People who are practical, so that's difficult to judge, but these are the ones who are most hungry about discounts. They'll opt into every email and all of that, right? And so on and so forth. So you can create these segments for your brand and then work backwards. Always start with ICP, followed by the problem. ICP is ideal customer profile. Start with the ideal customer profile, understand the problem of each ideal customer profile, and then personalize your experience accordingly, right? The other thing is, connectivity. The way people connect with the brand is going to be even more important. If you don't have a chat on your site, you need to have one, right? So whether you set it up with Gorgias, or you go hire people to run it, or you hire someone here in India, or you hire someone in Philippines, I really don't know how you will solve it, but you need one, right? And I don't mean this only in the way of chat. This is a promotional campaign that Casper did, and I don't mean to kind of recommend just putting, I think this is the oldest idea in book about doing chat. But now in 2026, chats are going to be 5,000 times more powerful than anything else. Because what we have seen over a period of time is people who chat convert 8 times better than people who don't, right? So their highest intent customer is going to chat. Second, is there are only two types of chat that happen. The first type of chat is about 75% of all conversations your customers will have with you, which is where is my order? Can I return it? All of the queries, all of the standard top 4 FAQs. The remaining 20-25% is the highest intent customer who's lost, needs help, or has an extremely specific question, right? Does your shampoo have parabens? Right? Now that's an extremely specific question. And if you can answer that question, and that answer works in your favor, you have already won the battle, right? So that's another big one. Either way, the intention is to plug it in and then train it on longitudinal behavior, meaning, understand the way people think and then train the chat or the AI on top of that. Build a customer-led testing squad. So this is a very simple idea. It's that you want to involve your customers a little bit more. I'll give you one very quick example and then we'll go to the next one. I feel that we don't ask enough from the customers that are the most loyal to us. And if we just as a brand started asking, we would get so much value that it's not measurable. For example, I want you to look for your top 30 or 20 customers, give them a call and say, hey, you know what? We want you to be our brand ambassador. And for that, we're going to send you this product, which is our newest product, for free. And I want you to try it on and make videos of you wearing it or using it, and talk to the camera about how you feel about it. Right? These are your most loyal customers. They will have only good things to say. They are great for feedback as well. But my limited point for why I say that is because you will create a loyal inner circle, make a WhatsApp or a Slack group out of these people. So you have access to those 20, 30 people at all times. Give them referral coupons that nobody else has got, right? And then you can always take it to the next level. Oliver Charles, for example, lets people opt in to becoming an Oliver Charles Sweater field tester, and then people are allowed to post content about it, kind of do that, right? And put all of that data into an AI system that generates ways in which people think about the product. But generally speaking, I would love to see a landing page from your brand in 2026 that has all of this user generated content, which is authentic, which is real customers using your product because they love it. It is used in real conditions. It has honest opinions, and people honestly share their shortcomings of the product, and you honestly put it on the landing page. Because if you have a product that the world needs and you do this exercise, 100% that'll be your highest converting page, right? So authenticity is extremely transparent. That's there's one of my mentors who says to me that authenticity is transparent. If you're authentic, people will see through you and you can't hide anything. But if you're not authentic, it's opaque. It's instantly identifiable. And don't ever think that people don't understand that. So that's an important thing, and I think we should all kind of imbibe that in some way. The same thing can be done with industry experts. So these are your people who are not loyal to your brand already. But every industry has experts, right? These are Instagram influencers, TikTok, influencers. And what you want to do is you can involve them as a research and development team, right? That tell stories about your brands. Don't even think about them posting anything. Just tell them we need your help. You are this amazing outdoor expert, right? And you do these treks, and we have this amazing jacket that we have built, which is great for all weathers. Do you want to try it? And just tell me what you think about it. And I think it's powerful what you're going to get out of that. Because what's going to happen is out of 15 or 20 such experts you will engage, 10 will actually go the mile with you, and 5 will truly create content for you. And that's going to be priceless content, right? For example, in the case of this business, they have something called a design council, a designer council. And so the designer council says, hey, dark corners are not good. So these lamps work perfectly for them. They're able to feature those people on their website. And they do it because if you click on them, you can then go to their Instagram page. So they are also getting distribution. They also love being featured in different places. If you're a large enough brand, they also like end up bragging, right? So, hey, I'm an ambassador of, say, for example, Crutchfield, or maybe, this really famous hardware store for that matter. Short on the funnel, I think this is a really old thing. Google's new agentic payment protocol is phenomenal. I don't know if you've used it yet. This was announced in September 25, but basically people can chat and check out. They can say, hey, do you have any of X? It can throw the products because your product feed is already with Google, and they can check out from the chat itself. Now that's powerful. I don't know why people are not tapping into it. It takes not too much effort to set it up, and you can just set it up and you have a new shopping experience at no cost. It's free, and it's a new shopping. Of course, the payment gateway has to be set up, but it's like a new way in which people can just buy from you, and you can add that link to your Instagram bio, and you can send people directly to that link from Google. I think it's really a very easy one. But generally speaking, focus on creating bundles and focus on one tap logics essentially, which are cross sells or upsells. We'll come to that in a minute. I want to talk about the last AI idea, and then we'll go into the more traditional stuff, because I think that's where the bigger wins are going to be. Design shopping experience for the swipe generation. This is extremely important. The Gen Z and the Gen Alpha, they did not grow up searching for stuff. You have to understand that majority of the content products decisions that the newest generation is making is happening because of what is being shown to them, as opposed to what they go and seek manually. For example, for me, and I have nothing against this new generation, I love what they're working on. And I think they are the ones most prepared for what's headed towards us in terms of automation, robotics, AI, everything else. But for me, for example, when I wanted to learn something, I wasn't watching videos and podcasts back in the day. I was going and reading entire books about it, right? So I wanted to learn sales, I read 4 or 5 books on it. I wanted to learn marketing, I read books on it. I wanted to learn branding, I read Seth Godin books. Wanted to learn SEO, I read SEO books, right? So we were gaining knowledge because we were manually getting out of our seats, going and buying something and then consuming it. That's not happening anymore. So nobody's typing keywords, nobody's browsing categories, nobody's opening 12 tags, nobody's comparing stuff manually. They're like, hey, this looks nice, it matches my vibe, I'm going to go for it, right? And so what you want to do is just focus on how you can, you know, transform your UI into more consumable. I'll give you an example for one of our clients. We run personalization on their site. And so the Pareto principle was alive for them. 20% of the products were driving 80% of the sales. And so we uh, crafted an experience that made it extremely easy to stumble across that 20% that actually drives sales. And once we did that, their sales literally, we saw a 35% bump on revenue just in a few days because people were spending unnecessary amounts of time on the remaining 80% of the product that nobody was buying anyways. The pricing was wrong, there was no PMF, etc. So what you want to do is just make the experience as easy as possible, right? Swipe to confirm, drag to change quantity, slide to apply. So they don't know how to do the clicks, is how you have to assume. Just up or down or right or left. If you can make that happen, that'd be fantastic. Shopify, I know most of our customers and most of the people here probably are set up on Shopify. If you need development help, I can connect you to the right people, but we don't do that for you. What we would do is A/B test and experiment and help you iterate the experience. And you should only do that once you've crossed a certain scale and threshold. Before that, you just iterate on how you drive more demand and just change your experience at a fundamental level, ideally. Build interruption resistant mobile commerce, right? Don't interrupt with kind of too many things. Try and kind of save the cart, auto restore, so on and so forth. Now let's get into part two. I want to take a quick pause and see if anyone has any questions. You can always put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to just keep going. Doubling down on proven growth drivers is probably the best bet you've got in 2026, because not let's face it, not most of us are not going to be able to invest the time, money, and brains in solving AI for our business just immediately. Although I would really hope that we all do that. But doubling down on proven growth drivers, what I really mean by that is that for e-commerce, conversion rate is still at about 2.7%, right? Cart abandonment is still very high. And generally speaking, people are still underinvested on conversion rate optimization. They are not running A/B tests. Retention is important, but they don't know what to do. So we, in fact, also went ahead and kind of asked people on Reddit what they think about it. And there was a common theme, which is that, hey, I'm going to double down on retention. Generally speaking, what people said is traffic is expensive. It's getting more and more expensive, right? CPM, CPC, everything's growing up, is going up. Retention feels like a cheat code, but we don't know what to do. Personalization is broken and every channel is noisy, right? So how you solve for all of that, right, is these 5 or 6 ideas. And then if you need more, if you think that's not enough, as I said, we'll do an audit for you, but let's just first get into this. The first thing is making your navigation visual and not something to read. You don't want to follow this. You don't want people to think, read, interpret, and then choose. So I more often than not see navigations that look like this. You see that? And so that's kind of, as a conversion optimization specialist, that's kind of annoying, to be honest. They should just see things, they should feel and click and buy, right? So things have to be visual, things have to be easy, they have to be instant. This is a phenomenal example of that by Ruggable, right? You instantly know the kind of room type we are talking about, the size, right? So if it is a 10 by 14 rug, you're talking about an 8-seat sofa that can sit on top of it. But if it is a runner, you probably are getting it for a kitchen. It's instant. When you see this, it is instant what that rug means. This is a beautiful example. I think everybody should learn from this visualization. And generally what we would do is come up with something like this and then A/B test it to make sure that it works. So 50% of the traffic would see the improved version of the site and the other 50 won't. And so you know that it works. It not doesn't just look good. But generally speaking, you want to use visual navigation to educate. So you want to supplement stacks, just make sure that you illustrate the stuff that's confusing, right? So when you're talking about materials in the case of furniture, right? When you're talking about recipe ready bundles, when you're talking about temperatures with lighting, like that spectrum that we see for colors of light, which is another one, right? Make a visual comparison, side by side photo comparison, silhouette overlays, sort of stuff. Don't let people do the comparison. Already show it to them. Start with the comparison. Just have it ready. It should already be there. When you show a product, what is your biggest competitor? You should already have a comparison right there. Don't even think that people are going to go and check and assume that they know, because people will Google, a solution and then kind of go from there. Guide shoppers into higher value choices. This is the oldest advice. I'll just tell you how to do it so that it feels like people are getting smarter. And this pressed juicery example is phenomenal. If you're buying cleanse 3, you can enhance your cleanse by adding a celery juice. You see what's happening there? So they are trying to uh, have you upgrade your experience, not your cart. And that's a huge deal. There's a huge difference between that, right? If you're doing this cleanse for the first time, you need one more thing, right? If you have pets, I recommend that you do the anti-allergic cleanse, right? So you are just trying to get into the customer's mind to have them upgrade. And Apple does this extreme. I think Apple does a lot of things extremely well. A lot of other brands are also learning from it, but they do this extremely well. Apple Store employees have been taught to do this extremely well. If you're buying a 256 gigabyte iPhone, they'll ask you really smart questions, right? They just work like machines and they know what to do, right? Uh, but the question that they would ask is, hey, do you upgrade every 2 years? Because then you want to make sure you don't run out of space too soon, right? And so they're not making you upgrade. They're thinking, hey, I don't want to run into managed storage 18 months later. So you know what? How much is the 512? It's $100 more. Fantastic. Let's just do it, right? And there you go. That's an upsell. So you have to be smart about it instead of kind of uh, trying to be pushy. The next one is transforming dead ends into decision points. I don't know why businesses don't focus on their 404 page, but if your agency ever sets up the wrong URL, you essentially end up paying to drive traffic to your 404 page. And so similar dead end, for example, is out of stock. A similar dead end, for example, is a bad pop-up, right? So instead of an empty cart navigation, for example, in this case, they're instantly asking a question: what type of cooking are you gearing up for? Right? I'm just a casual guy, or maybe I'm cooking dinner for my friends, etc. But generally speaking, for a sold out page, show something else. For an empty cart, show recently viewed. For a 404 page, show them collections, right? For a zero search results, show trending searches or one-click filters, right? So there are these formulas that can help you rescue that traffic that you were going to lose anyways, right? Turn empty wish lists into inspiration boards. Again, very simple. Wish lists are underused, but if you have those, I think there are ways in which you can use that a little bit more productively, right? Convert abandonment into zero-party intelligence. This is an underrated statement, right? Because abandonment is the worst thing in the conversion journey. If someone leaves after having invested even 60 seconds with you, that's a solvable problem. If they've left before that, that's an unsolvable problem, right? That's the way you have to think about it. So if it is a solvable problem and they left after investing multiple seconds with you, then you have to work on it. So for example, in this case for you, they're not doing anything. They're just saying, hey, can we do more? And they collect zero party intelligence, meaning they collect direct customer insights, direct customer intelligence by asking, hey, what went wrong? And so the customer says, you know what, the shipping cost was too high, or the minimum order requirement is too high, etc. So if you just click on any of these, they're gonna take you back, right? No, instead of offering the 10% off, think of these things. Think of offering clarity, reassurance. Think of offering, a mood or occasion filter that allows them to kind of think of offering a wellness quiz. Wellness quizzes work. Quizzes of all times work. All types work great only if you word them well. So quiz is a purely copywriting game. It's a purely copywriting endeavor, and if you can do a good job, you can literally double your conversion rate just by doing a fantastic quiz, right? Use AI to predict returns before checkout. I think there are tools that do that now, but there are ways in which you could um, predict if someone is going to return the product, right? I in fact recently ordered a product, and so if you see what they do here with their size guide, and if you're trying to add something to the bag, look at this, right? Let's find your perfect fit. If you have a wide foot, stick to your usual size. If you have a narrow or a regular feet, go down one size, right? So they are saying, hey, this is what it looks like. There's another brand that we did this for where we said, hey, if you wear a Nike UK 12 or a US 12, the R 11.5 will fit you, right? So they are saying, hey, here is the largest brand that everybody owns at least one shoe, or there is an overlap in terms of ICP. This is how we're going to tell people how to make a good decision on our website, right? Great design doesn't matter with emails is another big learning we've had. We, in fact, onboarded a lot of customers promising them that we'll do mind-blowing design. And then we did mind-blowing design for them and the needle did not move. So that was embarrassing. But that was a big learning for us because we realized that sometimes you just don't need to do big offers, designs, things moving, something jumping out of the screen. No, you just need a focused, timed copy slash story that just fits into the system, right? So in this case, last minute shoppers, people who bought gifts the last time but haven't this year around, you're just telling them 48 hours before your niece is angry with you, right? And then you're saying here's a gift card, right? So you can just time it well. Of course, a gift card might not be the number one way to kind of do that, but my point is that you can solve for this problem in just a minute. Please feel free to add questions. I'll be okay. And so what that adds into is user story based A/B testing, right? There's a narrative angle. Instead of A/B testing for discounts and subject lines, A/B test different types of stories that you can tell people, right? So that would be powerful. We have a question here, just a second. Okay, I think to some degree I'm answering this question already. I wonder, as an email strategist, my focus is more on retention. I don't have a lot of influence over the website. So that makes complete sense. And I'm going to talk about some of that as well. Um, Actually, you have a lot more control on the website than you think, whoever has asked this question. The reason I say that is because you have control on the number one thing that matters, which is the intent or the motivation with which people are coming to your site. And why I say that that's the most powerful thing is because everything else follows from there. So the reason why they click determines the conversion more than the rest of the experience. So that's important. So as far as emails go, the first thing I already mentioned is the design doesn't matter, the story matters, the pitch matters. The second thing that is important is the post-purchase experience. With Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of these things, the number one thing I think brands still miss is that the post-purchase is the complete miss. So there are fantastic sales, big numbers, everybody is winning, but the post-sales experience is not cracked. And that's the last thing you want because this is when you acquire the most number of new first-time customers. So if you give them a phenomenal post-sales experience, you have won them for life, right? Generally speaking, if a Patagonia runs a resale marketplace, for example, right? One Weir is, Patagonia gear is more like life to live, right? So you can find technical samples, all of that kind of stuff. But there are brands who do this in creative ways. I just think you should just start with like a high level post purchase, talking about how to maybe, right, styling tips, care guides, that kind of stuff, or introduce branded inserts like a brand story postcard, discounted referral invites, make people refer their friends, ask them about their experience, have a phenomenal unboxing experience, and then send them back to the website for registering the product. Maybe it could be 100,000 things, right? Even something as simple as, you remember those coffee cards that we used to get from coffee shops where they would just punch it every time you get a coffee, and then once you've gotten nine, the 10th one is on them. Something on anything that is post purchase is going to be very important because that's how short, unfortunately, attention spans are, and we have to focus on that. All right, last one. Prep for volatile economies, right? So I think we've seen this a lot this year, and I think it's best that we hedge. I don't know why brands don't trust their distribution and the loyalty that they already enjoy, but I don't see brands preparing themselves better for 2026. So the first thing is, if supply is an issue, it is also solvable through copy. For example, we've had brands that run out of stock a lot, and so we built a pre-order system for them, which is that even if they were out of stock, they were receiving orders, and while receiving orders, they were just simply saying, we are fully handcrafted, and your product is likely to be dispatched by the 20th of December once it's fully ready. Right. So now, instead of feeling like I'm ordering something that's out of stock, it feels like I'm ordering something that's built for me. So the conversion for the pre order was higher than their order. And so then now they are a permanently pre-order brand. So they only take back orders, and they only ship 15, 12 days, 12 to 15 days later, and they are never out of stock, right? And they're able to plan inventory, they're able to buy in advance. Everything is solved. The whole business is streamlined because they decided to continue to sell when they were out of stock. Imagine. So, take risks and solve problems in a way that they maybe change the way you do business eventually. Stockouts are a proof of demand. If something is out of stock, it's a great thing. It's a fantastic thing. You have to make noise about it, right? I have seen brands do sold out campaigns. As a matter of fact, Apple does that in a lot of their markets, emerging markets. The moment Apple iPhone 17 Pro got sold out, or 17 got sold out, there was a huge. So the Apple was not promoting it, but all the influencers, the social media, everybody was saying iPhone 17 is not available anywhere anymore. And everybody felt like, oh no, I mean, what's happening? Why is it not available anywhere? Why are people buying this? Why am I not buying this? Right? And there's no better. Out of stock is the best problem to have, right? We have another question. I'm gonna just take a look at this. In the meantime, we can, please feel free to add more questions if you have any. What ideas or recommendations? So this is, I think there is maybe, I think I would say that there is like a. Do you mind if I say a question out loud? I'm not sure if that's okay. But I think there is more of a privacy and data processing angle here, more than there is comfort with AI as far as your customers go. And so I feel that the number one way in which this gets solved is by addressing that. I can also allow you to talk if that's relevant. I'll just maybe put you on so that we can have a quick, if you're okay with that. But that's what I'm reading when you've made that comment, Ismiri. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but yeah, generally speaking, we've seen that as well. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi.
Okay, brilliant. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So Is it okay if I just say a question out loud for the others?
Of course.
Okay, brilliant. So what ideas or recommendations do you have for wellness brands where we have a bunch of customers excited about biohacking? So they're comfortable with AI, but a whole bunch of other customers that aren't comfortable with anything AI. You work with brands concerned about using AI for data processing because they feel that they will lose the trust factor comes from being transparent. So I can just quickly react to that, and maybe you can share feedback or any follow-ups. But my simple anything that is imposed on the customer is a no-no. Like, in the sense, if somebody forced me, if Apple today forced me, if even Apple could not do that, right? I don't know if you've upgraded to the new iPhone, but Apple didn't. The Apple Intelligence AI was not turned on straight out of the box. Even Siri is not turned on. Even Face ID is not turned on. So everything has to be manually turned on as I set my iPhone up, right? And so that's how Apple is trying to give you control back. But they're going to, of course, annoy you a little bit by reminding you about it every now and then, and reminding you that you're stupid not to turn it on. But I think it's about giving control back to the customer to maybe create some comfort. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's coming from both the customer kind of considering us, as the experts in like all things AI for data processing.
Yeah.
But my thing is like it is, all of these ideas are amazing and for using for personalization, but how like kind of use it so that the customer can actually see that, yes, this can work. And yes, we are using AI. And yes, your customers
Yeah.
are going to love it. And they're like, no, like if you mention anything about AI, even using Photoshop to change a picture,
Right.
they're like, no, because they work in wellness and because they really
Right.
want to keep that, you know what I'm saying? It's people's health. So that's why.
Absolutely. Yeah, so normally we have a HIPAA compliance when we work with wellness or health related clients. We have the compliance, so we kind of emphasize on the data security angle. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Thanks for asking your question. Okay, brilliant. Any other questions that we can talk about today? Otherwise, I hope this was useful and the information was helpful. Once again, this is not everything. We are still adding to the list, so we're going to publish this on our website, and it will be a part of our newsletter as well. We hope to add a lot more to the list of ideas here. If you have any questions, I'm all ears. Otherwise, we can close it, and I'm going to see you in the new year, at least for a webinar. I can see you before that as well, but not in a webinar. Okay, brilliant. I guess that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us again. I hope you have a phenomenal Christmas and a happy New Year. And I hope your business triples in size in 2026 and you buy 2 new houses, 7 new cars, and have a brilliant, brilliant 2026. Thank you so much. Have a happy, healthy, phenomenal New Year. Bye bye.